My name's Scott Dixon and welcome to Dixon Ski School. We're just working on the name, so hopefully that sticks. Anyway, so the first thing I want to do is teach you how to do lots of different 1 foot balance exercises. These are all the best drills that you can do to improve your skate technique. And until you're able to stand on 1 foot, you're going to struggle to be able to get your weight over the leg appropriately in the skate techniques. So these drills are going to help you achieve that. First things first though, we're going to get our boots tightened, okay? So I cannot overstate how important it is to have your boot completely and utterly tightened. So I've been skiing for a little bit to warm up, and now my laces will have come loose just a little bit. So it's an opportunity to get it tightened all the way down to the very base of the boot. And again, I can't express how important that is. So many people say, oh yeah, my boot's tightened. I then check it and I cannot believe, particularly this bit, if you come in super close to here, this bit here, that needs to be pressing against your ankle to prevent there having lots of movement. And you can see there, way too much movement. Pull it tight right the way around, and that's it, locked in. Now these are old boots, so they're a bit shabby. All right, so for this one, I am getting used to moving on 1 foot. So all I'm gonna do is a little bit forward and a little bit back. I'm not hopping, I'm not changing the orientation of my wheel. I'm simply going backward and forward, like so. Once I'm comfortable at that, I'm going to just hop slightly. First by putting my weight on my poles, and then I'm pulling down with my arms, allowing me to lift up on the roller ski, just to feel that principle of moving on 1 foot, of hopping off 1 foot. Changing direction, because at first you may lack confidence because you're so used to having the other leg there to support you. Okay, so this next one is a stepping drill. I know that I said 1 foot balance, but this is just a really good warm-up drill. It teaches you to basically step a little bit further. So you're going forward foot, my right foot is going back. My right foot is going to go forward, my right foot back. Right foot forward, right foot, like what they do in football training, something like that. Now you make that a little bit trickier by doing much bigger steps. And just bearing in mind, this one is funky, this one is weird. So be careful, especially when you're crossing over in front. If you put all your weight is obviously on one leg and you slip, it can be a little bit dodgy. First exercise, you need to get your poles on, so make sure the straps are done up nice and tight, and it's simply standing on one leg, and it's the bob drill. So we're bobbing up and down on one leg. I'm using my poles to support me to begin with, and I'm just going up and down, bending from my knee to toe. That's ankle flexion, as opposed to knee to hip, which puts my bum over my skis. I want to try and keep my knee going over my toe, poles are there to support. Now as I get good at this, I can try and minimally use my poles. So I'm only just touching them down if I need to, and if I can get them right off, I'll do it. Okay, next version of this exercise is you're incorporating a hop. Now you are going to need your poles to catch yourself here. So I'm standing on 1 foot, I'm bobbing to get warmed into it, and then I'm going to prepare myself, jump and land 3 points of contact. That's my roller ski and my pole tips. And as I get better at this, I can start doing it without my pole tips coming down. The 1 foot hops and bobs is jumping side to side. Okay, now you can just jump in various different directions, or you can literally hop side to side. So this is using that 3 point of contact to be a bit more ambitious. Jumping left, jumping right, jumping in a circle, and you're using your poles to catch yourself. And as you get really good at this, you don't need to pause and then hop again. You can literally just straight, as soon as you land, jump. If your boots aren't tight, or if you haven't got strong ankle support, your ankles are going to crumble doing this. So be careful. Make sure that you build it up slow enough to know where your personal limit is. Okay, next exercise. This one is just simply standing on one roller ski. Now, a lot of folks say, I can't do much roller skiing because there's nowhere to go. You can do all the necessary balance exercises in your kitchen, at home. Because this exercise right here is the perfect drill to understand your weight distribution over the ski and to build up those little muscles in your ankle, you're just standing still. And if you need to, use your pole, and you will to begin with for sure, particularly if you're a beginner, use your pole just to stabilize. Once you've got your 1 foot balanced, you can start to incorporate an upward and downward slow movement. Now, what's really important here is that it's not like the bobbing that we've done before. All you're doing is you're going slowly up and down, slowly up and down. All right, using your poles to support you. Now, this kind of violates one of my rules, but the hardest version of this, and if you can do it even harder and better than I can, you need to have good ankle flexibility though and very good balance, is you're going to do pretty much a squat on one leg. So this is the hardest version of this exercise. You're going down super low, using your poles to stabilize as best you can. Oh, that's as low as I can get it, and then up. And now I'm going down again. Just trying to minimize how much I use my other ski and how much I use my poles. Just to show you a side profile of this here, you can see that my glutes, shall we say, are going over my heel, and that is totally okay for this exercise. I'm standing up tall, trying to get my weight over the ski at the high point, and then down super low, trying not to use my ski if I can. As you can see, this is difficult, and so it should be. It also builds strength in your leg as well as improves your balance. Great exercise. Okay, on to the next one. Okay, so when you're getting used to putting your balance on, or your weight over one leg, what's really important is that you can do it at all before you move on to the more complex exercises which follow. So first of all, you're just going to start by moving step by step, planting my poles, move my foot, plant poles, move foot, around a cone. And you'll notice that you barely need to do any movement because it's a static jump into a static landing. Your wheel is not rolling particularly much. I'm going to go around the cone the opposite way as well until you feel comfortable with the principle of moving side to side or rotating around something. Okay, and remember, you can always use your poles to give yourself a lot more support. You've got 3 points of contact here as opposed to just one. Or in fact, we've got 4 points of contact if you consider both the wheels. So now I'm doing a figure of 8. I'm just trying to get round on 1 foot between these cones, like so. So that's involving a left and a right turn. As you get better, you can try and go a little bit faster. And if you get really good, you can try and do it without your poles. But if you're at that level, you're certainly better than me, because that is shocking. Okay, and remember, you can always use your poles to give yourself a lot more support. You've got 3 points of contact here as opposed to just one. Or in fact, we've got 4 points of contact if you consider both the wheels. So now I'm doing a figure of 8. I'm just trying to get round on 1 foot between these cones, like so. So that's involving a left and a right turn. As you get better, you can try and go a little bit faster. And if you get really good, you can try and do it without your poles. But if you're at that level, you're certainly better than me, because that is shocking. Okay, once you have got past that standard, you're just going to make the cones a bit further apart. And in fact, you can use a couple in each end to create a slightly wider circle. And all you're going to do is try and get round super fast. Of course, as always, start slow and then build up the speed. And what this teaches you is, as you're going around the cone at speed, you have to lean a lot. And if you teach yourself to lean appropriately, you'll be able to make lots of quick little jumps. Always catching yourself with, you've got the inertia, and my pole is catching my weight right now. I take away the pole, I have no movement and speed, I fall over. But if I'm doing lots of little steps and coming at it with speed, the inertia, the G-force, whatever it's called, is going to be the thing that I'm leaning against. So I'm not going to fall. Just look at the angle of my body. I'm leaning out over the cone, trying to get my body weight against And if you notice, I put my pole down and I orbit around my pole. That's a super useful way of building up your balance and confidence. This next exercise is so good because you can pretty much limitlessly make it harder, and therefore it's also appropriate for anyone of any standard. You just have to, first of all, be able to stand on one foot and push. And if you can do that, you can weave in and out of these cones here. So it's a flat line, something like that to begin with, and I'm just weaving in and out on one foot, taking my time, using my poles to slow me down as I get to each cone. So I'm doing tiny little steps in and out of the cones, barely any movement at all. The thing is though, I'm not committed my ski to the concrete. I'm not simply pushing in a straight line and keeping my foot static. In order to weave in and out of the cones, I absolutely must do little micro hops and adjustments. So as you see on the way back, micro adjustment, tiny, tiny, tiny little steps. Now this is definitely a little bit harder than it appears. All right, the next version of that is I'm going to make the slalom a little bit more tricky. So for the next one, all I've done is I've moved half of the cones, every second one, out by 1 meter. So I'm going to weave around this. Much harder to get around the cones. So bear that in mind. You're going to need to take this one step by step. I've got my poles forward, and again I'm keeping my back wheel down to get around the cones. Back wheel is staying down. Now I can do full hops just like that there. Either certainly works, but preferably keeping the back foot down. As I'm coming back, I'm just rotating around that last cone there, and the exact same thing applies. Your leg's going to get pretty sore doing this, but that's okay. The more you practice it, the better you'll get. I've made the corners a lot wider. The objective here is that I'm going to go increasingly fast as I get more competent. Just be aware that if I'm on my right foot and I'm turning right, that is a lot harder than on my right leg turning left. So like I said, if you're feeling really confident here, there's multiple ways you can make this more challenging for yourself. For example, going as fast as you can. If you're trying to race around it, it'll look something hopefully a little bit faster than that. You can go for a longer period of time and simply just keep on going and going and going. Or if you're feeling daring and your leg isn't as tired as mine is, then you would do no poles or one pole. This is one pole effort. Oh. And I'm about to go for a no pole effort. Oh my God. Now I'm going downhill here, so this is a little bit easier. But you can really challenge yourself to see how far you can go. And I will demonstrate now how hard it is to get back uphill. I can't. I'm broken. Okay, so next exercise is you're going to be hopping with your front wheel over the cone. So front wheel hops, I call it, and use your poles to stabilize, to support as your foundations. Now bend your knee, you're going to jump up and just bring your wheel from side to side over the cone. Now you can use this on with anything. You can use a leaf, you can use a stone, doesn't really matter. The back wheel stays down, and I'm just lifting my toe. And that action is you've got to lift your toes right to the top of your boot so that your front wheel comes up like so. All right, next exercise. You can do this with or without a cone, it depends. If you're rolling, if you're on a hill, it's not going to work, so just get rid of the cone. But the idea is you want to do the whole jump without using your poles to catch you. Now, as you can see, quite tricky. So this is going to be for much more advanced skiers, and certainly the next drill after this is super advanced. So each exercise has an easy, medium and hard so that you can do it at whatever level you're at. if you want to start this exercise, this whole drill, just with simply keeping your back wheel down and lifting your front wheel up, that's fine. That's a great entry level for this exercise. The only risk doing that, lifting your toe up, is you have to have your weight forward, which is a bit of a contradiction, getting your weight forward and lifting your toe up. So you have to be careful not to put your weight back and then risk falling over backwards. The most challenging version of this drill, which is in and out of the cones. Next version of this exercise is we're going to go and weave in and out of some cones. Quite advanced, so just be careful when doing this that you are at the level sufficient to do it. Don't jump into this one straight away. So I'm rolling and I'm keeping my back wheel down, lifting my toe only to weave in and out of these cones. My poles are for support, enabling me to get in and out. And as I return, it's actually a little bit easier, I find, going uphill than it is going downhill to begin with. All right. Okay, so once you've got a basic ability of double poling on one leg, you're simply going to go somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds double poling on one leg. Notice that I'm veering off to the side, so I'm going to realign by just jumping a little bit. I do it when my poles are down, when my poles are up. You will find your own preference, somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds. After that, your leg is almost certainly going to be burning. So, how do we move this on to a slightly more difficult version? Let's say you can do 30 seconds, no problem. Perfect. That means you're going to go somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes. If you are feeling confident, if your ability has increased to that level. Let's say you can now do somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes. How do we make it even harder? Quite simply, just increase it by 10 again. You're doing somewhere between 10 and 30 minutes on one leg. Might sound crazy, but there's very little that's better training than that. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you can practice this even if you've only got a 3 by 3 meter square bit of concrete or a pavement to work with, or sidewalk if you are in America. Most of the viewers are, so I mean, that's what it's called. A lot of these exercises are so basic and require such a little amount of space. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in your kitchen, literally in your kitchen, just don't damage the floor, but you can do it just outside your house on the park, King Way, what's it called? All right, so these exercises are the absolute bedrock of being able to do proper skating techniques and classic as well. So practice them, always go from the easiest version of it and only increase to the next level if you feel confident. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Please like it, comment, share. The comments are really helpful. It helps me get a bit more exposure. So thank you so much for your time and good luck practicing these drills. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and the uploads are going to come much more frequently, particularly as the snow starts to fall. Have a great time training. Ciao. Do, 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 do.